They called 150-pound Atlas a defective guardian with no spine. But when a shadow lunged from the midnight mist, this gentle giant unleashed a primal power that changed Brian's life forever. The high-fenced backyard of the local animal shelter felt more like a graveyard for broken spirits than a place of hope. Brian walked past rows of barking labs and anxious terriers until he saw a mountain of black and tanned fur sitting silently in the corner of a concrete run. It was Atlas, a 150-pound Rottweiler whose massive frame seemed to sag under the weight of a defective label. The shelter worker, Sarah, sighed as she checked the intake notes, explaining that his previous owners had surrendered him because he lacked any protective instinct, claiming he was useless as a guard dog. To them, a Rottweiler that didn't snarl at the wind was a failure. But as Brian looked into Atlas's warm, amber eyes, he didn't see a failed weapon. He saw a soul that just wanted to belong. "He's exactly what I'm looking for," Brian whispered, reaching a hand through the chain-link fence to feel the velvet-soft fur of the giant's head. "I don't want a fighter. I want a friend who stays far away from violence." The paperwork was signed within the hour, despite the staff's warnings that Atlas might never be the alert sentinel most people expected from his breed. Before we continue, if heartwarming rescue stories touch your soul, please subscribe. Your support means everything. Hit that subscribe button right now. You won't regret it. Now, back to what happened next. From the very first day in his new suburban home, Atlas proved to be the ultimate lapdog in a titan's body. He would clumsily try to climb onto the sofa to rest his massive head on Brian's chest, his tail thumping against the floorboards like a heavy drum. Brian's life revolved around a peaceful routine: morning walks under the bright California sun, followed by Atlas lounging in the backyard while Brian worked from home. Because they had a large, secure garden, Atlas never needed to go out for late-night bathroom breaks, and his world remained one of golden sunlight, belly rubs, and absolute tranquility. To Atlas, the world was a safe place where every stranger was just a friend he hadn't licked yet. He was the neighborhood's favorite giant, a 150-pound pile of mush who seemed more likely to trip over his own paws than to ever show a tooth in anger. Brian felt a deep sense of pride in proving the previous owners wrong, not about the dog's lack of aggression, but about the idea that a dog needed to be tough to be valuable. They lived in a bubble of serenity, unaware that the true test of Atlas's genetic legacy was lurking in the one environment he had never experienced: the suffocating, silent darkness of a midnight street. The peaceful bubble finally burst on a Tuesday when a massive project at the office forced Brian to stay late, long past the hour when the sun dipped below the horizon. By the time he pulled his car into the driveway, the neighborhood was cloaked in an unusually thick, ink-black darkness, and the streetlights on his block were flickering or dead. Feeling guilty for being gone so long, Brian decided to take Atlas for a rare late-night walk instead of just letting him out in the yard. The air was heavy and silent, the kind of quiet that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. As they turned the corner into a dimly lit alleyway, the 150-pound giant was trotting happily, his nose to the ground, completely oblivious to the shift in atmosphere. Suddenly, a figure detached itself from the deep shadows of a brick wall, a man in a dark hoodie, moving with a jagged, aggressive speed directly toward them. Before Brian could even process the threat or reach for his phone, the atmosphere around them shattered. Atlas, the dog who had never growled in his life, transformed in a heartbeat. His massive chest expanded, his stance widened, and a sound erupted from his throat that Brian didn't know a living creature could produce. A deep, chest-rattling roar that felt like a physical blow. Atlas didn't retreat. He lunged forward to the end of his leash, placing his enormous body directly between Brian and the intruder. His teeth were bared, and his eyes, usually so soft and kind, were fixed on the stranger with a terrifying, predatory focus. The hooded man froze mid-step, his eyes widening in pure terror as he realized he was inches away from a 150-pound apex predator. The sheer wall of muscle and fury standing in his path was enough to make him turn and sprint back into the darkness, his footsteps echoing frantically down the pavement. Brian was shaking, his hands gripping the leash so hard his knuckles were white. But Atlas didn't chase. Once the threat was gone, the giant dog immediately turned back to Brian, his terrifying persona vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. He nudged Brian's hand with his wet nose, whining softly as if to ask if he was okay. Brian, overwhelmed by the sudden adrenaline and the shock of seeing his teddy bear turn into a monster, knelt down and pulled the massive dog into a tight embrace, realizing he never truly knew the animal sleeping at the foot of his bed. The following morning, Brian took Atlas to see Mark, a renowned behaviorist, to make sense of the transformation. As Mark watched Atlas sniff a butterfly, he listened with a knowing smile. "You only showed him a world where he didn't need to be a Rottweiler," Mark explained. His previous owners wanted trouble, but Atlas needed a reason. In the daylight, he saw your confidence, but in the dark, his DNA finally signaled a threat. Mark patted Atlas's broad shoulder. "He's a thinking man's guardian. He didn't know how to protect you formally, but his genes told him to become a shield. You have a 150-pound miracle who chose peace until you needed a warrior." Brian looked at Atlas, who was now chasing his tail, and felt a surge of gratitude. He realized Atlas hadn't been failing. He was protecting his heart until he found someone worth defending. Today, Atlas remains a lapdog, but an unspoken understanding exists between them. Neighbors see a gentle giant, but Brian knows a king lies beneath that velvet fur. They still walk together, but Brian no longer fears the shadows, knowing his silent guardian is always ready. It's a reminder that the quietest souls carry the loudest strength, and true protection is about love, not aggression. If Atlas's bravery moved you, please subscribe to support more rescues. Would you have trusted a defective dog, or would fear have won? Let me know in the comments.